From now on, we will begin our discussion with the topic, museums should return looted artifacts to their countries of origin. The name of the pros team is 팽티모도 and the name of the cons team is 이상한 토론과 우시연도. Please shake hands with each other.
주장마다 악수해주세요. 주장 앞으로 나와서 자, 우리 애기들 장난하고 박수해주자.
Take your seat. The first speaker of the pro team is 이혜신. Please introduce the discussion topic and give reasons for approval and grounds for argument on the topic for 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Lee Hae-shin, the Pacific team. I think the museum which stole a unique cultural property should return the stolen cultural assets. First, all museums have the right to own collections that properly represent their cultural heritage. This is because cultural assets play an essential role in understanding human being origins and culture. Second, we must respect the superior value of each cultural property. Third, means the delivery of physical subjects and does not mean the delivery, ownership of related cultural properties. Fourth, no country has the authority to implement time restrictions on cultural property in relation to the issue of return and ownership of cultural properties. Fifth, it is difficult to resolve rooted cultural properties committed in the special circumstances, such as taking out cultural properties through colonial rule and punitive looting. Sixth, the UNESCO Convention on Prohibition and Prevention of Illegal Importation and Transfer of Ownership of Cultural Properties and the UNESCO Convention. This is the legal and ethical basis for the return of cultural assets. So I think the museum should return the stolen cultural assets. Thank you.
This time, the first speaker of the cons team reviewed what the pro team claimed for a topic and explained the reasons or ground for the opposition for 3 minutes please.
Hello, I'm Kei Chow from the cons team, and I think we shouldn't return the historical assets. First, I think the museum is a facility created to display historical relics, and I think the stolen cultural assets are one of the historical relics, so it doesn't have to be returned. Also, the reason why museums are made is to learn about the history. Therefore, stolen cultural assets are part of the history. Second, if the cultural assets are returned, the museums with the cultural assets will suddenly get empty. So the property damage of the museums will be big. However, there are no support from the countries. Third, while the cultural assets are being returned and carried, they might get destroyed and lose its value because of the light or shake. So I think they shouldn't return the cultural assets. Thank you.
Please, the pro team discuss the reasons for the counter arguments for 1 minute. Of the pro team, please review what opponents have just claimed and give examples of the first and second reasons for 2 minutes.
Hi, I'm Ouyang Zhao, the presenting team. The history of culture property looting has already been carried. Since Roman times, the looting of culture properties should be approached in terms of unilaterally taking words, which is property value and resulting in trampling on the national pride and cultural value of the country of origin. The meaning of cultural property was defined by UNESCO and national organization on the prevention of illegal trade and the return of cultural property refers to cultural properties taken out as the returns of armed conflict, escape, occupation, and colonial rule. The Latin country property is illegal and must be returned. Unconstitutional. Let's find out the reasons through the case of Latin culture properties. The example we have identified are the Latin of Indonesian cultural assets conveyed by the Netherlands, the looting of cultural assets in Africa, Egypt, India, and China by Britain and France, and the looting of cultural assets by Germany and during World War II. Therefore, looting cultural assets is illegal and must be returned unconditional. Thank you.
Then please discuss the reasons for the opposition refusal to the proof's claim for 1 minute. As just claimed, and state the first and second reasons for 2 minutes please.
Hello, I'm Yundogyun from Cons team. I think it's okay not to return the stolen culture property. The reason is the looted culture properties are definitely culture properties of looted countries. Korea also plundered Japan and Silk Road cultural properties for this reason, but has not returned them. Take France, for example, which plundered our cultural assets, and the main reason why they can't return the plundered cultural assets, the various protocols related to the protection of cultural properties. The European Center theory of civilization and international law for civilized countries only. It's because of the French museum law that makes it difficult for cultural properties. The rationale is the limitations of cultural internationalism and cultural nationalism, whose history the cultural property contains the unknown originalism of cultural property, cultural supremacy, and cultural property. Thank you for listening.
State the proof can discuss the reasons for the counter-argument for 1 minute. The third speaker of the proof, please refute what the opposing team has just claimed and give a third reason. Please refute the argument of the opposing team and summarize the presentation of the proof team and completing the presentation for 2 minutes.
Hi, I am Park Sang-hyun. I am against Indogyun's opinion. President Indogyun said that Korea did Japanese cultural access, but Korean cultural access was looted by Korea. In fact, no matter how much I look up in internet, only wooden chopsticks have been looted by Korea. It is also an excuse to claim that the looted cultural property belongs to its own country. Think about it. If someone insists that I'm not strong enough to take what someone has heard that exists, I don't think. Thanks so much.
Please discuss the reasons for the opposition's rebuttal to the pro's claims for 1 minute.
자,
The third speaker of the cons team, please review the substitution that the pros have just claimed and announcing the third reason for 2 minutes. Please summarize the cons argument to finalize the cons presentation in 2 minutes.
Hello, my name is So Joseph from Cons team. Even if it's returned, there is no reason not to return it, because it may not be properly identified or taken out, and since evidence is needed to get it back, it is not right to return it or make a hasty decision to avoid unnecessary billings. Relics or cultural assets are universal parts of human history. Encyclopedic art galleries, such as the British Museum, the Louvre, and the Metropolitan Museum of Art, are institutions of dissemination of knowledge, preservance, and broad cultural understanding. Therefore, more and more diverse cultures' assets should be kept, and there is a reason for amnesty even if it was acquired through an unfair route. In fact, there are many cases where cultural assets were excavated by excavation teams led by foreign countries, and in fact, there are many things that would not have been seen without them. They have made many discoveries that have contributed to cultural knowledge and understanding, and have priority in the collection. If cultural assets move away from this museum, much fewer people will appreciate the work. Thank you for listening.
The fourth speaker of the pros, please refute what the opposing team has just claimed and give the fourth reason. Please refute the argument of the opposing team and summarize the presentation of pros team and completing the presentation for 2 minutes.
얘들아, 마지막 선수니까 크게 인사해.
Hello, I'm Kim Sung, the positive team. The history of cultural property business has already been carried out since Roman times. The thing of cultural property should be approached in the terms of unilaterally taking words, which is a property value and has resulted in tampering and the national pride and cultural values of the country of origin. The meaning of cultural property is defined by UNESCO and International Organization and the prevention of global trade and the return of cultural property. Referred to cultural property taken out as a result of art conflict. How are you going to just look at this illegal situation? This is why cultural assets should be returned. Thanks.
team, please review the substitution that the pros has just made and announcing the fourth reason for 2 minutes. Please summarize the cons argument to finalize the cons presentation in 2 minutes.
Hello, my name is Siano from Constantine. Cambodia's culture minister said yes, compared to the 14-5 stolen Khmer elephants are all at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. The USA federal first sector who helped Cambodia's government in the past met with Art Museum obstacle and asked them to investigate the source of the suggested attacks, saying the Metropolitan Museum of Art voluntarily contacted the USA Federal Prosecutor's Office following new information on the source of the exhibit. In addition to the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, the Vietnam Museum of Art also agreed with the Cambodian government to give up ownership of four Khmer attacks related to Richard. Thank you for listening.
Discussion ended. Thank you for the presentation of each team, and I close the discussion.